The school said boys will be boys when a bully hurt my daughter, so I showed them what happens when fathers will be fathers. When my daughter Cornella came home and threw her Stanley Cup off the balcony, I knew something was up. But I also knew that if I walked into her room and asked what was wrong, she would do that teenage girl thing where they tell you to F off. So I decided to wait until the next morning. But that night, I heard her crying. Not loud, just these quiet sobs she was trying to hide. It took me 2 hours to get her to open the door. When she finally did, she couldn't even look me in the eye. As soon as I saw her, I immediately noticed the limp in her walk and bruising on her shoulder. She collapsed into my arms and immediately explained, "A boy at school locked me in a storage closet for 4 hours. I banged on the door with my Stanley Cup, but no one came. When they finally found her, she was curled up on the floor in the dark, shaking. I felt this rage building in my chest that I hadn't felt since my deployment in Afghanistan. "What did he do to you?" I asked, scared of the response. She didn't say anything, just looked at me with wide, pleading eyes that told me everything I needed to know. He had hurt her, badly, permanently, in a way that could never be undone. I told myself to stay calm, to handle it the right way. So the next morning, I went to the school to talk to the principal. His wife, the vice principal, was sitting right beside him as I explained everything, and waited for him to tell me how they were going to handle this. Instead, he leaned back in his chair and said, "Look, it was a game that went too far. Boys will be boys." I stared at him in disbelief. What are the consequences for that fucker? His wife, the vice principal, just shrugged. "We'll talk to him." I couldn't understand why he was being so chill, but that's when the principal said something that made everything make sense. "Listen, my own son was the one involved, and I know my boy didn't mean any harm. He just gets a little rowdy sometimes, but what boy doesn't?" I left that office with my jaw clenched so tight, I thought my teeth would crack. For the next few weeks, I tried to talk to the police, but the principal had already told them I was just another ex-veteran with PTSD and sick fantasies who liked making stuff up. But that wasn't even the worst part, because during all this, every single night, I could hear my daughter crying through her bedroom wall. She stopped eating dinner with me. She flinched at loud noises. The girl who used to run up and hug me when I got home from work wouldn't even make eye contact anymore. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw that principal leaning back in his chair, smirking at me. So I made a decision. I had to take matters into my own hands. Except I knew that if I laid a hand on that kid or his father, I'd end up in prison. My daughter needed me home, not behind bars, so I had to get creative. I started by following the school bus one afternoon after school. I just wanted to see where the principal's son got off to see where they lived. Once I had their address, I spent the next few weeks watching their house, learning their routines. The principal left for work at 7:15 a.m. every morning. His ugly wife went to Pilates at 8 a.m. every morning and wore leggings that were 3 sizes too small. His son caught the bus at 7:45 a.m. Once I knew their routine down to a T, I broke into their house using the key they kept under the plant pot and switched the meds his dad was using for his depression with sugar pills, so his depression meds wouldn't work anymore. Oops. After a few days, I started planting evidence to make it look like the principal's wife was cheating on him, and this started a really messy divorce. About 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, the principal couldn't handle the betrayal, and he drove to a bridge outside of town and ended his own life. But I wasn't done yet. I made sure to plant seeds and more fake evidence that would make the bully's mother think that it was her son's fault that her husband thought she was cheating, aka my daughter's attacker. She started drinking heavily and started laying hands on him. Things got so bad that she just disappeared one day and never came back, so the bully was abandoned and placed into a group home in another state. That made my daughter feel better more than therapy ever could.